Gandhi says, what you do may never be known, recognized, or honored, and it's vital. It's crucial that you do it.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Louisville Late Night.
In January 1776, Thomas Paine published his essay, Common Sense. 3 out of 4 of the adults in the American colonies read the essay, and it changed their thinking from being citizens of a colony to becoming citizens of a constitutional nation. Common Sense, too, explores the opportunities of creating a constitutional global nation. It is a documentary-style film with a fictional concert with high-tech presentations to bring to our planet the advantages of world citizenship. It is based on 2 simple ideas. The first is that there are times in history when new information is discovered that is so powerful that it changes reality itself. Our first reality was as hunters and gatherers. That lasted until we learned how to grow food and tame animals. At that point, the reality of the Stone Age ended, and a new reality began, the age of agriculture. Then people learned to make machines that ended the age of agriculture and began our present reality, the age of industrialism. Einstein launched an information explosion unheard of in the history of the world. Over half of the information now in existence was discovered since 1950. This brings us to the second idea of Common Sense 2. History has put us into one of those historical times when one reality system ends and another is born. Our present industrial reality is ending, either by the death of our planet or by being transformed into a newer, more dynamic reality. A reality that ends hunger, poverty, pollution, and war forever. A reality that puts more money in our pockets and more paid holidays on our calendars. This information has given us a new vision of ourselves. Seeing our planet as it really is, there are clearly no lines on it showing different countries. We do not live in countries. They live in us as outdated political thinking. But we, as a planet, spend $1 trillion a year on guns in defense of these imaginary pieces of our planet. And this, where 12 to 15 million people a year, mostly children, die of hunger, and the rest of us struggle to pay our bills. Buckminster Fuller, the Leonardo da Vinci of our time, discovered the difference between the developed and the underdeveloped parts of our planet is the availability of electricity. This is the most accurate map of the world ever made. Fuller created it to see how we might produce more electricity and use it to make life better for us all. He decided we can connect the world's existing electrical grids to form a planetary energy internet. This global grid brings power to everyone on our planet and unites now remote sources of renewable energy into one planetary transmission system. But that is only where the real story begins. Enough solar energy hits any city in one day to power everyone's home for a year. With one side of our planet always facing the sun, the global grid provides us a permanent supply of abundant, clean energy for the economic liberation of everyone on our planet. It is clear we are one people on one planet. History is calling us to rise above artificial division and create a world community. Thus united, we are free to use our time and talents to create a planet of peace and prosperity for us all. We need not condemn ourselves to the horrors of the past. We now have the power to create a better future. Let us put our minds together and see what life we can create for our children.
One more time what it was, what the room is used
Well,
for.
this room is used for most of the meetings that we have for conferences and for VIP meetings. It's also used sometimes by volunteers who need a little extra place to work. So, but it's really generally for conference meetings.
And this is the ongoing work of the Carter
The ongoing
Center.
work, yes, the ongoing
Internationally.
work. Right, right.
How many different agencies are there within the Carter Center?
There's so many and they change. And there's a lot of activity in foreign countries connected with health, the guinea worm project, which is to eradicate the guinea worm. And then in addition to that, there's the river blindness. I don't know whether you know anything about that.
No.
But river blindness is a real problem, especially in Africa and the Nile. And Merck, the pharmaceutical house, had a cure for it, but they weren't sure how to distribute it. And so they gave the actual pills, which is a pill once a year, and they gave the medication, and the Carter Center was able to arrange through their contacts in the different countries for the distribution of this medication.
Well, that's wonderful.
So it really is. I mean, if you think in your whole lifetime that you were able to save maybe a couple of million people from blindness, that alone is enough of a life's work. But when you add that to all the other things, it's absolutely amazing. And there are so many of them, it is hard to tell you what they are, okay? In addition to that, there's been some work with improving crops in sections of Africa, specifically in Ethiopia, where there was quite a large success because they did have a surplus for the first time last year of food.
Oh, really?
So that was a big thing. And Mrs. Carter told us one day that they were on a tour in Africa, and they met a man who came up to them and said that he had been expecting his sons to leave the farm because it couldn't support them. And thanks to the efforts of this new idea in farming and the productivity they'd been able to get, although we didn't use the word productivity, his sons were able to stay with him and remain in the village. And so, I mean, when you get down to that nitty-gritty of things, it really comes home to you what is being accomplished. So I think it's really wonderful. Then, of course, there are all the things about elections. The Carters go and review elections in many countries, including in China.
Oh, really?
Yes, including in China.
They have democratic
yes,
elections
they
in
do.
China?
At the, I think it's the village level, more or less.
Oh, really?
They've been several times, yes. So that was very interesting. And, of course, in a lot of South American countries, too. Recently, in Indonesia, also, which Mr. Carter had some trepidation about because it was such a huge electorate and it was very, very difficult to monitor. But he went over there to see what could be done, and they did actually participate in that.